There comes a moment when your scars no longer whisper pain. They start to sing your power. Pain is not your ending, it's your awakening. There comes a time when the ache you once feared becomes the very teacher that shapes you. The world will tell you that pain is something to escape from, to silence, to hide beneath a smile. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is your mirror, showing you where you've been silent when you needed to speak, where you've settled when you deserved more, where you've held on when you should have let go. It arrives not to destroy you, but to wake you from the comfort that keeps you small. When everything feels like it's falling apart, it's not the end of your story. It's the part where the universe invites you to listen differently. Because pain speaks. It whispers truths you were too distracted to hear. It shakes your spirit awake, forcing you to look at the places you've neglected. Every tear that falls carries a message. You are alive, you are learning, you are growing. You see, the most powerful transformations are not born in comfort. They are carved through struggle. Pain strips away illusions. It removes the masks we wear to survive. When your heart breaks, when your plans collapse, when the world turns its back, that is when you meet the rawest version of yourself, the one not polished for anyone's approval. In that moment, you realize that strength was never about pretending to be unbreakable. It was always about learning how to rebuild, piece by piece, with grace. Sometimes pain comes to remind you of what you forgot, your own light. You can't appreciate peace until you've walked through chaos. You can't understand joy until you've tasted sorrow. Every dark night teaches you how to treasure the sunrise. The hurt is not meant to make you bitter, it's meant to make you real. When you are in pain, the world slows down. You begin to notice what truly matters, not possessions, not appearances, but moments of connection, small kindnesses, the beauty in simplicity. Pain humbles you. It removes arrogance. It softens your edges. And in that softness, you find wisdom. The pain you feel today will someday become the empathy you offer tomorrow. You'll meet someone standing where you once stood, and you'll say, I know how this feels. That's the quiet gift of pain. It connects us. You are not weak for hurting. You are human for feeling. And there is nothing more sacred than that. The ache inside you is not a punishment. It's a pulse reminding you that you still care, that you still have something inside you that believes in love, in hope, in second chances. Pain doesn't end you. It reintroduces you to your heart. So many people fear pain because they think it means they failed. But pain doesn't mean you failed, it means you tried. It means you cared enough to invest, to love, to dream, to risk. The only people who never feel pain are those who never open themselves to life. But you did, you dared, you stepped forward, and yes, it hurt, but it also made you real. When you've been through pain, something shifts. You start to see through pretenses. You stop chasing approval. You stop begging for attention. You start understanding peace in solitude. You begin to crave honesty, depth, authenticity, because pain burned away everything that was false. It taught you the sacredness of being true. There will be nights when it feels like the ache will never end, when every breath feels heavy and every step feels impossible. But even in those moments, remember this: the body heals in silence, and so does the soul. Healing is not loud or glamorous. It happens quietly in the small choices. When you decide to forgive, when you decide to let go, when you choose to smile again, every tiny act of hope is a rebellion against despair. The truth is, you can't rush your awakening. You can't hurry the lessons. The pain you feel today is shaping the strength you'll stand on tomorrow. Every scar you carry is proof that you survived something that was meant to break you. Don't hide them. They are your medals of honor. You faced the fire and came out glowing. That glow is not the absence of pain. It's the presence of power. Life will break you open again and again, not to punish you, but to keep you real. Because when you've known darkness, you understand light more deeply. When you've cried yourself to sleep, you recognize joy not as luck, but as grace. Pain teaches you to value what's pure: laughter, presence, peace. It teaches you that happiness is not about having everything, but about being grateful for anything. Sometimes awakening feels like losing everything. You lose friends, jobs, dreams, comfort zones, but you're not losing, you're shedding. Pain removes what no longer serves your becoming. It clears space for what is meant to bloom. It asks you to trust what you cannot yet see, the beauty that waits beyond the breaking. And one day when you look back, you'll realize that what you called pain was actually the moment your soul began to open its eyes. The ending you feared was never the end. It was your invitation to rise. You will thank the nights that hurt you because they taught you how to love the morning. You will honor the people who broke you because they revealed your own resilience. You will stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "Thank you," not for the hurt itself, but for the wisdom it gave you. Pain is the doorway, not the destination. It is the flame that purifies, not the fire that destroys. You were never meant to live avoiding it. You were meant to walk through it, to grow from it, to rise beyond it. Because pain, when faced with courage, turns into power. It makes your voice deeper, your compassion wider, your faith stronger. So don't curse the pain, don't run from it. Let it teach you, shape you, stretch you. Let it awaken the sleeping parts of your soul that forgot how to dream. You are not the story of what hurt you. You are the miracle of what healed through you. Pain is not your ending, it's your awakening. The sacred moment your spirit finally remembers who it was born to be. There is a kind of quiet that comes after everything collapses. Not the peace of completion, but the heavy stillness of survival. It's that pause when the noise fades, when the world stops spinning and all that's left is you and the echo of what you've lost. It's a sacred space, though it doesn't feel like one. It feels empty, lonely, and cruel. But that silence, that deep, aching stillness, is where true strength begins to form. When life brings you to your knees, when you've given all you had to give and there's nothing left but the sound of your own breathing, that's when your soul starts to whisper truths that you could never hear before. It tells you softly that you are still here, that even though the fall shook everything you believed in, something inside you refused to break. Strength isn't born in the moment of victory. It's born in the quiet aftermath of loss. We think strength is loud, that it's in the roar of comebacks, in the declarations of "I'm fine." But real strength is silent. It's the unseen decision to keep breathing when you'd rather not. It's the small act of getting out of bed when your heart feels too heavy to carry. It's holding your own hand in the dark when no one else reaches for it. The silence after the fall is not emptiness. It's the birthplace of rebirth. In that silence, you begin to hear your true self. The noise of the world, the opinions, the expectations, the judgments fades away. The fall strips you bare. It removes what was never meant for you. And in that emptiness, you meet the core of who you really are. The person who doesn't need applause to know their worth. The person who has nothing left to prove. The person who has seen darkness and still believes in light. That is the moment strength begins to breathe. Falling teaches you what standing never could. When everything is easy, we move fast, we chase, we grasp. But when we fall, life slows us down. It humbles us. It forces us to look within. The silence that follows a fall is the space where healing begins to root. It's the soil in which endurance grows. The quiet workshop where resilience is shaped. You may not realize it, but while you are sitting in that stillness, trembling and lost, something sacred is rebuilding you. Strength does not shout. It doesn't need to. It grows in whispers, in heartbeats, in tears that no one sees. It grows every time you choose not to give up. It grows every time you pick up a broken dream and decide to try again. It grows in the soft maybe tomorrow when today feels unbearable. It grows in the silence after the storm where you discover that even shattered pieces can still reflect light. The silence after the fall isn't a punishment. It's a pause, a divine one. The world tells you to move on quickly, to bounce back, to be strong right away. But strength isn't speed. Strength is patience. It's allowing yourself to rest in the quiet, to grieve, to feel. It's honoring your own pace and trusting that even stillness is progress. Because healing doesn't happen in motion, it happens in presence. There is a kind of magic that unfolds in solitude. When you are no longer surrounded by the noise of others' opinions, you start to hear the truth of your own voice. You begin to rebuild your faith, not in the world, but in yourself. You start believing that you can rise again, not because someone told you so, but because you feel the flicker of it in your chest. That flicker is the seed of strength, quiet, small, but unstoppable. After the fall, you will want to run. You will want to fill the silence with distractions, with noise, with people, with movement, anything to avoid the ache. But don't. Sit in it. Listen to it. The silence is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's there to show you what matters, who matters, and most importantly, who you've become. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any applause. Sometimes it's the only place you can truly hear your own courage. You'll notice that in that silence, the world starts to look different. What used to seem important no longer holds power. What used to hurt you no longer defines you. Because once you've fallen and survived, your heart learns a different rhythm. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing endings. You realize that falling didn't destroy you. It revealed you. And once you know that, no fall can take you down the same way again. Strength is quiet because it doesn't need to be seen to be real. The strongest people are not the ones shouting their triumphs. They're the ones who rose quietly without witnesses, without recognition. They healed themselves in the silence, rebuilt their hearts from dust, and came back not to impress the world, but to live more honestly within it. In the stillness after the fall, you begin to understand that strength is not about being unshaken. It's about learning how to bend without breaking. It's about holding grace in one hand and grief in the other and saying, I can hold both. Strength is not hard. It's deeply soft. It's the kind of power that doesn't fight the storm. It becomes one with it and still finds a way to shine. You are never more powerful than when you are quiet after the chaos, because in that silence you are closest to your truth. The noise of life hides who we are. The silence reveals it. And the one who has faced silence without running, who has faced pain without pretending, becomes unshakable. That kind of strength can't be taken away. It's earned, it's lived, it's felt in the bones. The fall may feel like failure, but it's not. It's a sacred descent, a breaking open so you can grow into someone greater. And in the quiet that follows, something inside you awakens, a knowing, a calm, a strength that doesn't come from pride, but from peace. You realize that you no longer need to chase what once defined you. You are enough, simply because you survived, simply because you're still standing. So when the world grows silent after your fall, don't fear it. Listen to it. That silence is your becoming. That stillness is your rebirth. Every breath you take in that quiet space is an act of defiance, proof that you've chosen to keep living, to keep rising. Strength is born there in the gentle hum of resilience that says, I fell, but I am still here. I broke, but I am still whole. I was silent, but I was never weak. Strength is born in the silence after the fall, and once it's born, it never dies again. You are not what broke you. You are what rose after it. There are moments in life that split you open, moments that tear through your heart and leave you questioning who you are, where you belong, and whether you'll ever feel whole again. Maybe it was betrayal that cut you deep, loss that hollowed you out, or disappointment that stripped away your faith. But hear this: you are not what happened to you. You are what survived. You are what stood up from the wreckage when everything said you couldn't. You are what rose. The world often remembers the fall, but the real story is always in the rising. Anyone can be broken. Pain touches us all. But not everyone chooses to rebuild. Not everyone finds the courage to look at their shattered pieces and begin again. You did. Even if you doubted yourself, even if you stumbled, even if you had to crawl your way back, you still rose. That is who you are. Not the hurt, not the failure, not the loss. You are the strength that followed it. You see, what breaks you is temporary, but what you become after is eternal. Pain will visit your life, but it does not get to stay unless you give it a home. The heartbreak, the rejection, the disappointment, they are all chapters, not your entire story. You are not defined by the people who left or the battles you lost. You are defined by how you chose to rise when no one was watching. There's beauty in the breaking, though it doesn't feel like it when you're inside it. When something inside you cracks, light gets in. It's through those cracks that you begin to see who you truly are, not the version the world expects, but the raw, real, unmasked you. That's the gift of pain. It breaks what was false so that what's real can emerge. The person who rises from the ashes is not the same one who fell into the fire. They are wiser, gentler, braver, and more alive. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought made you strong to discover what actually does. It isn't pride. It isn't perfection. It's resilience. It's the quiet, stubborn faith that refuses to die. It's the strength that whispers, "I will not let this define me." The one who rises knows that healing is not forgetting. It's remembering without living in the wound. It's saying, yes, that happened, but it's not who I am anymore. You are not the broken heart that once kept you awake at night. You are the heartbeat that learned to love again. You are not the betrayal that left you empty. You are the trust you rebuilt within yourself. You are not the mistake that shamed you. You are the wisdom it gave you. What broke you was a lesson. What you became afterward is your legacy. Rising doesn't mean you come back untouched. It means you come back transformed. The world often celebrates those who never fall, but the ones who truly inspire are those who fall deeply, feel deeply, and still choose to rise with grace. Rising is not denial. It's acceptance. It's looking at your scars and saying, these don't make me damaged, they make me real. You cannot rise until you stop resenting the fall, because every fall has a purpose. It clears the ground for something new to grow. Think about a seed. It must crack open in darkness before it can reach the light. That's you. The breaking wasn't the end, it was your beginning. The pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Everything that tried to bury you was actually planting you. And when the time was right, you rose, not as who you were, but as who you were meant to be all along. The people who hurt you, the moments that broke you, the nights you cried alone, they all thought they were ending you, but they were building you. They were carving out the space inside you where resilience could grow. You are not the product of your pain. You are the proof of your power. You rose with more empathy. You rose with more understanding. You rose with eyes that see deeper, a heart that forgives wider, and a soul that knows its worth. You no longer chase validation because pain taught you that approval is a fragile foundation. You no longer fear endings because loss showed you that you can begin again. That's what rising does. It makes you unshakable. You are not what broke you. The breaking was a moment in your story, not the definition of your life. You are the strength that was born in its aftermath, the calm that came after the storm, the laughter that bloomed after the tears. You are the soft miracle of someone who kept going when the world said stop. You are the quiet power of survival. The truth is, everything you've been through was shaping you for the version of yourself you're becoming, the one who knows how to stand alone, the one who doesn't need the past to validate the future, the one who knows that rising is not about returning to who you were, it's about stepping fully into who you are now, because the person who was broken doesn't exist anymore. They evolved. And yes, there will be days when memories sting, when you feel the ache of what once was. But even then, remember, the hurt is only an echo. The healing is your reality. You've already proven that you can stand after being shattered. That's a kind of victory the world rarely understands. It's quiet, it's unseen, but it's sacred. When you look at your life, don't see yourself as the one who was broken. See yourself as the one who rebuilt, the one who fell but did not stay down, the one who learned to rise with gentleness instead of resentment, with peace instead of anger. You are not a collection of wounds. You are a story of restoration. So walk with your head high. Let them see the strength in your stillness. Let them feel the calm that comes from surviving the storm. Because you are not what broke you, not the betrayal, not the pain, not the loss. You are what bloomed afterward. You are the strength that refused to die. You are the light that rose from the ashes and dared to shine again. Every time you breathe, every time you hope, every time you love despite the past, that's you rising. And you will keep rising because that's what your soul was made to do. There is a misconception that healing is about erasing what hurt you, wiping the slate clean, pretending it never happened. But true healing is not amnesia, it is evolution. It's not about deleting the past, it's about rewriting your relationship with it. Healing doesn't erase the story. It changes your voice when you tell it. It turns pain into power, wounds into wisdom, and scars into strength. You cannot forget what shaped you. You can't unlive the heartbreak, the loss, the betrayal, or the moments that nearly broke your soul. They live within you, carved into the deepest parts of who you are. But healing means those memories no longer control you. It means you can touch them without trembling, remember them without reliving them. The memory remains, but the suffering fades. You no longer flinch when the past whispers your name because you have transformed the pain into peace. Healing is not a destination, it's a process, often slow, often quiet. It's the long walk back to yourself after being lost in the shadows of what hurt you. It's not glamorous or sudden. Some days it feels like progress. Other days it feels like falling back. But even in those steps backward, you are learning. Healing is not linear because transformation takes time. You're not meant to wake up one day and feel nothing. You're meant to wake up one day and feel different. There was a time when you couldn't talk about what broke you without tears. Then came a time when you could talk about it with strength. That is healing. That is transformation. It's not that the pain vanished. It's that you grew beyond it. What once buried you now blooms within you. You start to see the lesson beneath the ache, the growth hidden in the grief. Healing doesn't make you forget what hurt. It helps you understand why it mattered and what it taught you. When you heal, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start whispering, what did this awaken in me? You begin to realize that every wound carried wisdom, not pleasant, not easy, but sacred. Pain cracked you open so that compassion could enter. Loss emptied you so that love could find a deeper home. Betrayal stripped you of illusions so that truth could stand taller in your life. You were not meant to forget these things. You were meant to transform through them. The person you were before the pain would not recognize the strength in your eyes now. Healing doesn't return you to who you used to be. It introduces you to who you were meant to become. The old you needed breaking. The old you was too afraid to say no, too eager to please, too trusting of what was never true. Pain came as a teacher, not a punishment. And in learning from it, you transformed into someone wiser, braver, more authentic. There's a quiet kind of beauty in scars. They don't hide the hurt, they honor the healing. They say, yes, this happened, but look how I grew. Every scar is a symbol of transformation, proof that pain can be survived, reshaped, and turned into art. You don't have to hide your scars. They are your evidence of victory. They remind you of what you've overcome and who you became because of it. Healing asks for acceptance. Acceptance of what was, of what cannot be changed, of who you were in the middle of it all. It means forgiving yourself for the things you didn't know then, for the mistakes you made while surviving. Transformation begins the moment you stop fighting the past and start embracing the lessons it left behind, because when you resist, you stay stuck in the wound. When you accept, you step into wisdom. There will be days when the memories return like waves, uninvited, unrelenting. On those days, don't force yourself to forget. Sit with them. Listen to what they have to say. You'll notice that the pain no longer shouts the way it used to. It whispers now. It softens. That's how you know transformation is working, when the ache becomes a teacher, not a tyrant. Healing doesn't mean the story ends happily. It means you've made peace with the story as it is. It means you've stopped waiting for the apology that never came, stopped hoping for the past to rewrite itself. It means you've chosen peace over perfection and freedom over resentment. The person who hurt you may never change, but you did, and that change is everything. Transformation means you no longer define yourself by your wounds. You stop introducing yourself as the one who was left, the one who failed, the one who suffered. You start introducing yourself as the one who learned, the one who grew, the one who still believes. Healing gives you that power to reclaim your identity, to take your story back from the pain that once owned it. You'll notice that as you heal, your heart grows softer, not harder. That's transformation in its purest form. When you can open your heart again after it was broken, when you can trust again even after betrayal, when you can love again even after loss. Healing is not about becoming untouchable, it's about becoming unbreakable through tenderness. It's about realizing that love was never your weakness, it was always your strength. The world will tell you to move on, to forget, to act like it never happened. But you can't heal by pretending. You heal by feeling, by letting the pain pass through you until it no longer defines you. Forgetting hides the wound. Transforming honors it. You owe it to yourself to heal honestly, not hurriedly. To let every layer of pain reveal a layer of wisdom. To let every ending reveal a new beginning within you. And when that transformation takes root, you will notice something miraculous: gratitude. Gratitude not for the pain itself, but for what it awakened in you, for the patience, the empathy, the strength, the depth, for the version of you that exists now, the one who knows how to bend but never break. That is the quiet triumph of healing. Not forgetting what hurt you, but thanking it for shaping your soul. So don't rush to erase the past. Don't curse the memories. Let them stay, not as wounds, but as windows. Windows that show you where you've been, how far you've come, and how beautifully you've changed. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means you've turned your pain into poetry, your sorrow into strength, your heartbreak into holiness. You didn't erase your story, you transformed it. Everyone falls, everyone stumbles. Life, in its unpredictable rhythm, will bring you to your knees more than once. You'll fail, you'll lose, you'll hurt, but the fall itself doesn't define you. It only reveals what needs to awaken within you. The world doesn't remember you for the moment you broke. It remembers you for the moment you stood again. The measure of your strength is not in how gracefully you avoided the fall, but in how courageously you chose to rise after it. When life knocks you down, everything seems to stop. The air grows heavier, your heart feels quieter, and your spirit questions if it has the strength to move again. You can feel the weight of judgment, the eyes of others watching, wondering if you'll make it back up. But those eyes don't matter. What matters is the one pair of eyes that meet your reflection in the mirror, because it is there, in the stillness after the storm, that you decide who you are going to be. The world might see your fall, but your rise, that's for you. People will talk about your mistakes. They'll replay your failures and whisper about your losses. But when you rise, they'll see something even louder, your resilience. You see, rising doesn't mean you return untouched. It means you return transformed. It's not about pretending the fall didn't happen. It's about saying, yes, it happened, and I grew because of it. That kind of rise silences the noise, not with defense, but with undeniable strength. The world admires perfection, but it connects to perseverance. It's not inspired by those who never stumble. It's moved by those who fall hard and still choose to stand. Because in your rising, others see a reflection of their own hope. They see that it's possible to rebuild, to begin again, to breathe after breaking. Your rise becomes permission for others to try again, too. That's the quiet beauty of resilience. It doesn't just lift you, it lifts everyone who witnesses it. The truth is, falling is inevitable. You'll make wrong turns, lose things you thought you couldn't live without, and sometimes face the consequences of your own choices. But what defines you is not the fall, it's what you do next. Do you stay down and let bitterness bury you, or do you gather what's left and build again? Rising doesn't mean you forget the fall. It means you honor it as part of your becoming. Every time you rise, you tell the universe, you can't take my spirit. The world watches not because it enjoys your pain, but because it's searching for proof that survival is possible. And when they see you rise, they find that proof. The world needs more people who rise quietly, without vengeance, without ego, just pure, grounded strength. People who don't need to prove anything, who let their peace speak louder than their pain. You become living evidence that life can hurt you and you can still be whole. There's a certain kind of dignity in the way a person stands after falling. It's different. It's not the same kind of confidence you had before. It's deeper, calmer, rooted. Before, you walked with pride. Now you walk with wisdom. Before, you sought approval. Now you carry self-respect. The fall stripped you of illusions, and the rise gave you clarity. You begin to see that falling was not your failure. Staying down would have been. Rising was always the victory. The world often forgets that strength doesn't shout. It doesn't come dressed in perfection. It shows up in quiet persistence, in getting up one more time than you were knocked down. The rise doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it's just breathing through another day, smiling through the pain, choosing to forgive when you could hate, or taking one small step when you feel like collapsing. That's the kind of strength the world needs, not flawless, but faithful. When people see your rise, they won't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep. They won't know the silent battles you fought with your own doubts. They won't understand the courage it took to keep believing in something better. But you'll know, and that's what matters, because your rise isn't a performance. It's a personal revolution. It's not for applause, it's for freedom. You rise because your spirit refuses to live in defeat. The world will always have opinions about your fall. It will question your worth, your choices, your path. But you don't rise to prove them wrong. You rise to prove yourself right. You rise because you know you were made for more than pain, more than failure, more than fear. You rise because your story deserves to continue. The rise is not about how it looks to others. It's about how it feels to reclaim your own life. Falling humbles you. Rising refines you. Together they make you whole. The fall shows you where your strength lies hidden, and the rise shows you how to use it. When you rise, you're not the same person who fell. You're stronger, softer, more aware. You've learned how to bend without breaking, how to walk slower but surer, how to trust yourself more deeply. And the world, it will notice that. It will see that your power is no longer loud but unshakable. It's easy to celebrate success. It takes wisdom to celebrate recovery. Rising after a fall is not about erasing the past. It's about walking through it with your head held high. You stop carrying shame and start carrying grace. You no longer need to hide the cracks. You let them shine because you know now that light enters through them. The world watches how you rise because rising is rare. It's rare to see someone who refuses to let bitterness win, who keeps their heart open after heartbreak, who continues to love life even when life hasn't been kind. That's courage. That's beauty. And that's what people remember. They remember not that you fell, but that you stood again, and you did it with love still in your heart. So don't be afraid of falling. Don't be afraid of failing. Both are proof that you're trying, that you're living, that you're human. What matters is what comes next. The quiet moment when you stand again, brush off the dust, and take one more step toward light. The world is watching, yes. But more importantly, your own soul is watching, waiting to see if you'll believe in yourself again. Rise not to impress them, but to remind yourself that you can. Rise because that's what life demands of you. To keep beginning again, to keep evolving. The world will always notice the rise, but you will always feel it first. And that feeling, that quiet knowing that you made it through, is more powerful than anything anyone could ever say. Because the truth is simple. The world watches how you rise, not how you fall. And the most beautiful rise is the one done not for the world, but for your own soul. To forgive is not to wave a white flag. It is not an act of weakness or defeat. Forgiveness is the quiet revolution that takes place inside a wounded heart. The choice to set yourself free from the weight of bitterness, resentment, and pain that has chained you for too long. People often mistake forgiveness for surrender, as if it means excusing the harm or accepting injustice. But forgiveness is not about the one who hurt you. It's about the one who's been hurting ever since, you. When someone wounds you deeply, the pain doesn't just stay in that moment. It lingers. It builds walls around your heart. It shapes how you see love, how you trust, how you live. You replay the betrayal, the words, the disappointment again and again until the past becomes your present. Forgiveness is the act of taking your life back from that loop. It's not saying what happened was okay. It's saying what happened will no longer control me. It's the moment you stop letting your pain define the rhythm of your days. Forgiveness doesn't erase the story. It rewrites your ending. It's an inner declaration that you will no longer carry someone else's mistakes on your shoulders. You stop waiting for an apology that may never come, and you start building peace from within. It's not easy. It's not fast. Sometimes forgiveness feels like breaking apart before it feels like healing. But slowly, piece by piece, you begin to feel lighter. Because forgiveness isn't something you give once. It's something you practice every day until your heart remembers how to breathe again. The truth is, anger feels powerful at first. It makes you feel protected. You tell yourself that holding on to your pain keeps you safe, that refusing to forgive means you're standing strong. But anger is a fire that burns its own home. It consumes the space it lives in, your mind, your heart, your peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean you let the person back in. It means you no longer let them live rent-free in your soul. It's how you cool the fire without losing your warmth. When you forgive, you don't lower yourself. You rise above what hurt you. Forgiveness is the language of strength. It takes far more courage to let go than to hold on. Anyone can feed their anger. Only the brave learn to release it. The world might tell you that forgiving is foolish, that it makes you vulnerable. But in truth, forgiveness doesn't make you smaller. It makes you unshakable. Because no one can control a heart that refuses to carry hate. There's a sacred kind of peace that follows forgiveness. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It arrives quietly in the stillness after years of noise. One day, you think about what happened and you realize it no longer hurts. You stop flinching when their name is mentioned. You stop rehearsing what you would say if you could go back. That's the moment forgiveness blooms, when the past loses its power to poison your present. You haven't forgotten, you've transcended. Forgiveness is not about erasing boundaries. It's about reinforcing them with grace. You can forgive someone and still never allow them to hurt you again. You can let go of resentment without reopening the door. Forgiveness is not a reunion, it's release. It's not for the one who broke you, it's for the one you're becoming. You deserve to live free from the ghosts of what was done to you. You deserve peace more than you deserve revenge. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You carry guilt for what you didn't know, for what you tolerated, for how long you stayed, for how you reacted when you were in pain. But self-forgiveness is just as essential as forgiving others. You cannot step into your full power while punishing yourself for your humanity. You made choices out of fear, out of confusion, out of love, but now you know better. Forgiveness is the bridge between the person you were and the person you are becoming. To forgive yourself doesn't mean to forget what you've learned. It means you finally trust that you have grown from it. You stop being the villain in your own story. You start treating yourself with the compassion you were always hoping to receive from others. When you forgive yourself, you allow life to move again. The walls of regret begin to crumble, and in their place, space opens up for healing, growth, and renewal. The freedom forgiveness brings is not loud, it's steady. It shows in how lightly you walk, how softly you speak, how deeply you rest. It shows in how you stop reacting to everything that once triggered you. You start choosing peace over power, clarity over chaos. That's what forgiveness gives you, not a weaker heart, but a wiser one. You begin to see that forgiveness doesn't mean letting go of justice. It means letting go of the desire to carry the pain forever. Forgiveness allows you to reclaim your energy. The pain that used to consume your thoughts becomes fuel for creation, compassion, and strength. You stop fighting battles that ended long ago. You stop giving your light to the darkness that tried to dim it. You start living again, fully, presently, joyfully. Forgiveness is the act of returning to yourself, to your truth, your peace, your freedom. The world often confuses forgiveness with acceptance. Acceptance says, it happened. Forgiveness says, it no longer owns me. You don't have to excuse the wrong or understand the reason behind it. You simply have to decide that your peace is more important than your pain. That choice is the doorway to freedom. You begin to see that life is too short to be spent chained to resentment. Every grudge is a lock, and forgiveness is the key that opens it. Some wounds take time. Some people will never say sorry, but that's okay, because forgiveness isn't about them changing. It's about you choosing to walk away from bitterness, choosing to no longer let pain write your story, choosing to see that the heart is stronger when it loves again. That's the quiet miracle of forgiveness. It turns the hurt into wisdom, the endings into beginnings, the scars into strength. Forgiveness doesn't ask you to forget. It asks you to live to stand in the light without the weight of yesterday's shadows, to breathe deeply, to smile honestly, to love without armor. You don't surrender by forgiving, you rise. You don't lose power, you reclaim it. You stand taller, lighter, freer, because forgiveness is not a gift to the one who hurt you. It's a gift you give yourself to live unchained. And that's the truth. Forgiveness is freedom, not surrender. It is the moment your soul decides to stop suffering and start living again. It's not a sign of defeat, it's the ultimate act of strength, to choose peace, even when pain would be easier. When you forgive, you don't fall, you fly. There will come a time in your life when everything and everyone seems to doubt you, when the noise of disbelief grows louder than the whisper of your own hope. You'll fall, stumble, and hear voices that tell you to stay down, that you've had your chance, that you've failed too many times to begin again. But in that quiet space between defeat and decision, you must remember, you are not here to silence their doubts. You are here to honor your truth. Rising again is not about revenge. It's about remembering who you are beneath the ruins of who you were told to be. Proving people wrong can light a fire inside you, yes, but it's a fire that burns fast. It's fueled by anger, by pride, by the need to be seen. But proving yourself right, that's the fire that lasts. That's the flame that sustains you long after the world stops watching. When you rise for yourself, not for their applause, your strength becomes something unshakable. You no longer chase validation, you walk in conviction. There's a sacred kind of power in rising quietly. When no one expects it, when no one believes it, when the world has already written you off. Because the truth is, people don't always see your worth until it shines in hindsight. They won't always understand the battles you're fighting, the healing you're doing, or the dreams you're rebuilding from dust. But you do. You know what it took to stand again, what it cost to keep going. And that knowledge, that deep, unspoken strength, is the proof you've been looking for all along. The world loves success stories, but it forgets that every success began in a season of doubt. Every rise was preceded by a fall. Every breakthrough came after a breaking. What separates those who rise again